Dr. Zephyr's 6 arms trembled as she stared at the medical scanner's results. In her 47 years of practicing xenobiology across 12 different species, she had never seen anything like this. The human lying on her examination table had 17 fractured bones, internal bleeding in 3 organs, and enough tissue damage to kill a Crothry warrior twice over. Yet Marcus Chun was sitting upright, casually scrolling through his datapad, occasionally wincing when he laughed at whatever he was reading. "Excuse me," Dr. Zephyr's voice cracked through her translator, "but according to these scans, you should be dead. Or, at minimum, screaming in agony and begging for the most powerful painkillers in the galaxy." Marcus glanced up from his datapad with a puzzled expression. "Oh, that." He gestured vaguely at his battered body. "Yeah, I had a little tumble during the mining operation. Nothing too serious." The Valian doctor's compound eyes nearly bulged out of her head. Nothing too serious? This human had just redefined the entire concept of pain tolerance for every species in the Galactic Medical Council. What Dr. Zephyr didn't know was that this was only the beginning. Marcus Chun wasn't just any human. He was about to become the most studied, feared, and ultimately respected being in the entire galaxy. His casual dismissal of injuries that would hospitalize most aliens for months would spark a revolution in how the universe viewed humanity. The story of how 17 broken bones changed the fate of human-alien relations was about to begin. Operation. Massive cargo haulers docked and departed every few hours, their holds filled with rare metals extracted from the planet's crust. The station housed over 3,000 beings from across the galaxy, all united by the promise of profit from one of the richest mining operations ever discovered. Marcus Chun had been working the deep shafts for 18 months, longer than most humans lasted in the brutal conditions. The gravity generators down, they're fluctuated constantly, creating zones where you might suddenly weigh 3 times normal, followed by areas of near weightlessness. The tunnels were carved through unstable rock formations that shifted without warning, and the air recyclers struggled to keep up with the dust and toxic gases that seeped from the planet's core. It was dangerous work, but humans seemed particularly suited for it. While other species required expensive environmental suits and constant medical monitoring, humans could adapt to the harsh conditions with minimal equipment. They worked longer shifts, required less recovery time, and somehow managed to maintain morale even when things went catastrophically wrong, which they did frequently. Marcus was operating the massive bore drill in Section 7 when the cave-in happened. The ancient support beams, installed by a previous mining company that had cut corners on safety, finally gave way under the constant vibration. Tons of rock and metal came crashing down, and Marcus found himself trapped beneath a twisted mass of support struts and boulders. His Crothry supervisor, Gordhack, immediately called for emergency rescue teams. The massive reptilian alien had seen cave-ins before, and in his experience, anyone caught directly under that much debris was either dead or would wish they were. The rescue operation would likely be a body recovery mission. It took 6 hours to clear enough rubble to reach Marcus. The rescue team, led by a competent Nexery engineer named Zilf, expected to find a corpse. Instead, they found Marcus wedged under a support beam, very much alive and apparently trying to figure out how to activate his emergency beacon. "Oh good, you found me," Marcus said as the rescue team's lights illuminated his position. "I was starting to get a bit bored down here." Zilpha's antenna-like ears twitched in confusion. The human was pinned under at least 2 tons of metal and rock, his right arm bent at an obviously unnatural angle, blood seeping through his work suit in multiple places. Yet his vital signs on their scanner showed he was conscious, alert, and his heart rate was only slightly elevated. "Human Marcus," Zilf called through the comm system, "we are going to extract you carefully. Please remain still and do not attempt to move. You may have serious spinal injuries." "Nah, I'm fine," Marcus replied, then proceeded to twist his body and push against the debris with his good arm. "Just need to get a bit of leverage here." The entire rescue team froze in horror as Marcus began actively trying to free himself. Every medical protocol they knew screamed that moving a trapped victim could cause paralysis or death. Yet the human seemed completely unaware of this danger. "Stop! Stop moving immediately!" Dr. Zephyr's voice crackled over the comm. She had been monitoring the rescue from the medical bay and was rushing to the scene with a full trauma team. "You could sever your spinal cord." "My what now?" Marcus paused his struggles. "All right, you aliens have those fragile spine things. Don't worry, I'm being careful." Before anyone could stop him, Marcus had managed to shift enough debris to free his legs. He then braced his back against the tunnel wall and pushed the main support beam off his chest with his functioning arm. The beam, which the rescue team had estimated would require heavy lifting equipment to move, slid away under his effort. Marcus stood up slowly, brushing dust off his work suit and rotating his shoulders experimentally. His right arm hung limp and twisted, clearly broken in multiple places. Blood was visible through tears in his clothing. Yet he walked toward the rescue team under his own power, moving with only a slight limp. "Thanks for coming to get me," he said cheerfully. "I was starting to worry I'd miss dinner. They're serving real beef tonight, not the synthetic stuff." Zilpha's ears flattened against her skull in distress. In her species, such injuries would have resulted in immediate unconsciousness from pain and shock. The human shouldn't even be standing, let alone walking and making casual conversation about food. The medical team arrived just as Marcus emerged from the debris field. Dr. Zephyr took one look at him and immediately began barking orders for a full trauma response. Stretchers, emergency medications, surgical preparation. She activated every protocol for critical injury cases. "Really, I'm okay," Marcus protested as the medical team swarmed around him. "I just need to get this arm looked at. Maybe a painkiller or something." Dr. Zephyr ignored his protests and began running her medical scanner over his body. The results that appeared on her screen made her question whether her equipment was functioning properly. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, severe tissue damage. The readings indicated injuries that should have killed most species. "Human Marcus, you need immediate surgical intervention," she announced, her 6 arms already preparing medical equipment. "You have suffered massive trauma and are likely in severe shock." "I feel fine, though," Marcus replied, looking genuinely puzzled. "I mean, my arm hurts a bit, and there's this weird sensation in my ribs when I breathe deeply, but it's not that bad. I've had worse hangovers." The medical team exchanged glances that conveyed a universal message across species lines. This human was either insane or humans were far more resilient than anyone had realized. They transported Marcus to the medical bay, where Dr. Zephyr conducted the most thorough examination of her career. The advanced medical scanners confirmed her initial readings. 17 separate bone fractures, including several that had partially healed incorrectly from previous injuries he had never reported. Internal bleeding in his liver and spleen. Severe bruising across 70% of his torso. Muscle tears in his back and shoulders. "How are you not screaming?" Dr. Zephyr asked in genuine bewilderment. Marcus considered the question seriously. "I guess it does hurt, but not really that much. Like when I broke my leg skiing back on Earth. That was probably worse than this. Or the time I got food poisoning from bad sushi. Now, that was real pain." Dr. Zephyr made notes in Marcus's medical file with increasing confusion. She had treated humans before, but never one with such extensive injuries while remaining conscious and conversational. Either this particular human had some kind of rare medical condition, or her understanding of human physiology was fundamentally flawed. She decided to consult with her colleagues across the galaxy. Through the quantum communication network, she reached out to other doctors who had experience with human patients. The responses she received were uniformly shocking. Dr. Kith from a Centauri medical station reported treating a human who had continued working for 3 days with a fractured skull. Dr. Vexlin from the Outer Rim Emergency Center described a human who had walked 15 kilometers to reach help after losing significant blood from a severed artery. Most disturbing of all, Dr. Quench from the Research Institute claimed that humans routinely functioned with levels of tissue damage that would incapacitate any other known species. The pattern was unmistakable. Humans possessed pain tolerance and injury resilience that defied everything the galactic medical community understood about biology and physiology. Meanwhile, Marcus was becoming increasingly restless in the medical bay. The automated monitors beeped constantly, alerting the staff to vital signs that would indicate critical distress in any other species. For Marcus, they seemed to represent his normal state while injured. "Doc, how much longer is this going to take?" Marcus asked, trying to sit up on the examination table. "I really should get back to work. We're behind quota for the week, and the boss gets cranky when production slips." Dr. Zephyr gently but firmly pressed it back down. "Human Marcus, you're not returning to work. You require extensive medical treatment and at least several weeks of recovery time." "Several weeks?" Marcus looked genuinely dismayed. "For this? Come on, Doc. I've worked with worse injuries than this. Just slap a cast on the arm and give me some of those little white pills. I'll be fine." The casual dismissal of injuries that would hospitalize most beings for months was beginning to make Dr. Zephyr question her entire medical education. She had studied xenobiology at the prestigious Galactic Medical Institute, earned advanced degrees in trauma surgery, and had successfully treated hundreds of different species. Yet, this human was making her feel like a first-year medical student encountering her first patient. She decided to run more tests. Advanced brain scans to check for head trauma that might explain his unusual behavior. Detailed blood work to look for natural painkillers or other biochemical anomalies. Genetic analysis to see if he carried mutations that might account for his resistance to injury. The results were even more confusing. Marcus's brain showed no signs of trauma or abnormality. His blood chemistry was within normal ranges for humans, with no unusual compounds that might explain his pain tolerance. His genetic profile was completely typical for a human of Earth origin. Dr. Zephyr was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Marcus wasn't unusual for a human. He was simply exhibiting normal human characteristics that the galactic medical community had severely underestimated. The implications were staggering. If humans could function normally with injuries that would disable other species, what did that mean for their role in galactic society? How many other human capabilities had been overlooked or misunderstood? As word spread through the station about Marcus's condition and his casual response to it, other species began paying closer attention to their human coworkers. The observations that followed would shake the foundations of everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. But that revelation was still to come. For now, Dr. Zephyr faced the immediate challenge of treating a patient who didn't seem to understand why he needed treatment, while simultaneously questioning everything she thought she knew about medicine, biology, and the strange, resilient species called humans. The human delegation was led by Admiral Sarah Chinokafor, a veteran of the Galactic Exploration Corps and one of the highest-ranking humans in galactic service. Her arrival transformed the dynamic on the mining station instantly. Where the test subjects had been treated as specimens to be studied, Admiral Chinokafor commanded the immediate respect of military and civilian authorities alike. "General Corthax," she said, striding in a conference bay 7 with the confidence of someone accustomed to command, "I'm here to discuss the illegal detention and experimentation on human citizens." General Corthax's massive frame straightened in automatic military respect, even though they technically served different organizations. "Admiral, these tests were authorized by the Galactic Council under emergency protocol, a protocol that requires informed consent and the right to withdraw without penalty," Admiral Chinokafor interrupted smoothly. She gestured to the legal advocate beside her, a distinguished Vulcan whose species had built the foundation of galactic law. "Counselor Thims has reviewed the documentation. Your testing program violates 17 different articles of the Sentient Rights Charter." The legal implications hit the room like a photon torpedo. Every species in the galaxy was signatory to the Sentient Rights Charter, and violations carried severe penalties, including trade sanctions and military intervention. Dr. Sint's mechanical voice carried notes of distress. Admiral, we were operating under the assumption that the tests were voluntary. Voluntary? Admiral Chinokafor's voice could have cut steel. When the alternative is deportation and loss of livelihood. When the subjects have no legal representation and no clear understanding of what they're consenting to. Marcus Chun stepped forward. Admiral, I appreciate the intervention, but we need to know what these tests actually revealed. Every species in the galaxy is looking at humans differently now, and we deserve to understand why. Admiral Chinokafor nodded approvingly. You're absolutely right, and that's exactly what we're here to discuss. She activated a portable holoprojector. But first, let me provide some context that the evaluation team may have overlooked. The hologram showed comparative data that painted a very different picture than the military assessments. Instead of focusing solely on human injury tolerance and pain resistance, Admiral Chinokafor's presentation highlighted human limitations and vulnerabilities. Humans excel in injury recovery and pain tolerance, she began, but we have significant weaknesses that weren't part of the testing protocol. We're vulnerable to environmental toxins that other species shrug off. Our immune systems can be catastrophically overloaded by pathogens that are harmless to most galactic species. We have shorter lifespans than average, lower strength-to-mass ratios than many species, and our sensory capabilities are decidedly mediocre. Dr. Zephyr found herself nodding as the data unfolded. Her research had focused so intensely on human strengths that she had neglected to properly document their limitations. More importantly, Admiral Chinokafor continued, human society actively selects for the traits you've been testing. The humans who volunteer for dangerous jobs like deep space mining are not representative of the species as a whole. You've been studying our risk-takers and concluding that all humans are natural soldiers. General Korthax's expression shifted as he realized the fundamental flaw in their assessment methodology. You're saying we've been testing a biased sample? Exactly. If you tested only Crothri warriors, you might conclude that all Crothri are 8 feet tall and capable of lifting half a ton. But we both know that's not true of the entire species. The revelation changed the entire context of the discussion. The humans on the mining station were exceptional even by human standards, drawn to frontier work by their unusually high risk tolerance and physical resilience. But Admiral Chinokafor wasn't finished. However, that doesn't diminish the significance of what you've discovered. The humans you've tested do represent a significant population within our species, and their capabilities are genuine. She shifted to a new holographic display showing demographic data from human colonies. Approximately 12% of humans actively seek out high-risk occupations. Another 30% can function effectively in dangerous situations when necessary. That means nearly half of humanity possesses some degree of the traits you've documented. The numbers were staggering. If accurate, they suggested that humans could provide the galactic community with unprecedented capabilities for exploration, emergency response, and hazardous environment work. Marcus raised his hand. Admiral, what does this mean for us? Are we going back to being miners, or are we becoming some kind of specialized workforce? That's up to you, Admiral Chinokafor replied. The Galactic Council has officially recognized human capabilities in dangerous environment operations. Multiple organizations are offering positions that would utilize your natural abilities at compensation levels that reflect your unique value. She highlighted several opportunities on the hologram. The Galactic Exploration Corps was offering immediate positions for human crew members on deep space missions to unmapped sectors. The Emergency Response Consortium wanted human teams for disaster relief in environments too dangerous for other species. Most surprisingly, the Galactic Mining Consortium was proposing human-managed operations in asteroid fields previously considered too hazardous for development. The key difference, Admiral Chinokafor emphasized, is that these are opportunities, not obligations. Humans will not be restricted to dangerous occupations, nor will you be banned from any sectors or activities. Counselor Thim spoke for the first time, his melodious Vulcan voice carrying the weight of legal authority. The Galactic Council has adopted new protocols for species capability assessment. No sentient being can be subjected to involuntary testing based on species characteristics. Any research must be conducted with full informed consent and independent legal oversight. Dr. Zephyr felt a mixture of relief and regret. Her research had led to important discoveries, but the process had violated the trust and dignity of her subjects. Dr. Zephyr, Admiral Chinocafor said, as if reading her thoughts, "Your research has opened new possibilities for human participation in galactic society. But science conducted without ethical oversight risks becoming exploitation, regardless of the researcher's intentions." The Violian doctor's compound eyes reflected her acknowledgement of the criticism. "Admiral, I accept full responsibility for the consequences of my research. However, I believe the findings are too important to be dismissed because of procedural failures." "Agreed. Which is why we're proposing a new approach." Admiral Chinocafor activated a final holographic display showing a comprehensive research proposal. The Human Resilience Research Initiative, jointly managed by human medical experts and galactic scientists, with full ethical oversight and voluntary participation from subjects across multiple human populations. The proposal was ambitious in scope. Rather than focusing solely on injury tolerance, it would examine the full spectrum of human adaptation capabilities, including psychological resilience, environmental adaptation, and social cohesion under stress. "The goal isn't to weaponize human capabilities," Admiral Chinocafor explained, "but to understand them well enough to benefit both humanity and the broader galactic community." General Korthax studied the proposal with professional interest. "Admiral, this research could take decades to complete. What happens to human-alien relations in the meantime? We build them on a foundation of mutual respect rather than fear or exploitation," she replied firmly. "Humans want to contribute to galactic civilization, not dominate it." Marcus looked around at his fellow miners, then back to Admiral Chinocafor. "What about us? The people who are already here, doing the work. You continue doing what you're doing, if that's what you want. The mining operation continues as normal, but with proper recognition of your contributions and fair compensation for the risks you accept." Commander Velik, who had been silent throughout the discussion, finally spoke. "Admiral, my concern is maintaining operational effectiveness while adapting to new political realities. How do we integrate these findings into daily operations?" "The same way you've been doing it for 2 years," Chief Engineer Voss replied with a wry smile. "The only thing that's changed is that now everyone knows what we're capable of." Dr. Synth added his own observation. "The testing has revealed that human capabilities, while remarkable, are not unlimited. Understanding both strengths and limitations allows for more effective deployment and safety protocols." Admiral Chinocafor nodded approvingly. "Exactly. Knowledge properly applied benefits everyone." The meeting concluded with formal agreements for the new research initiatives and protocols for ethical treatment of human personnel. But perhaps more importantly, it established a new paradigm for how exceptional capabilities would be recognized and utilized within galactic society. As the various delegations prepared to depart, Marcus found himself talking with Dr. Zephyr in the observation lounge overlooking the mining operation. "Doctor, do you think this changes anything fundamentally?" he asked. Dr. Zephyr considered the question carefully. "Marcus, I think it changes everything. But perhaps not in the way we expected." "How so?" "For centuries, galactic civilization has been organized around the assumption that dangerous work requires either advanced technology or accepts high casualty rates. Your capabilities suggest a third option: beings who can perform dangerous work safely because they're naturally suited for it." Marcus watched the mining ships moving through the asteroid field, their human crews working in conditions that would challenge most species. "And you think that's a good thing?" "I think it's an inevitable thing. The question is whether we manage the transition wisely or let fear and misunderstanding drive policy." 3 months later, Marcus Chun received a promotion to mining operations supervisor for the entire asteroid belt sector. His first official act was to establish safety protocols that took advantage of human resilience while protecting workers of all species. The 17 broken bones that had started everything were long since healed, but their impact continued to ripple through galactic civilization. Humans were no longer the overlooked minor species they had once been. They had become partners in the most challenging endeavors of galactic society. And across the galaxy, in dangerous places where other beings feared to venture, human voices could be heard saying those same words that had started it all. Oh, that? It's not that serious. The universe would never be quite the same.